So I want to go ahead and move along so that Rose can talk to us today about content strategy. And so I will let you take it away. And I've added a couple people, so let me just make sure. There we go. And you can use the arrows or you can use that.
Okay, great.
But thanks for being here.
Sure thing. So switching gears, we are going to talk about how to use keyword research to inform your content strategy. So your content strategy is just like what you're going to be producing content, whether that's articles, website pages, videos, about in order to bring people to your site. So this is kind of an SEO focused approach, like using organic search to get people to your site to find out about you and engage with what you do. So what we find is, I'm assuming you guys have done some work on keyword research, but what we find is that a lot of people, including our clients and many students and myself when I was a student in the JB Media Institute learning about keyword research for the first time, is that keyword research can be really overwhelming and you have a ton of data, and then our clients are like, how do we use this? What are we supposed to do? So with clients who are considering updating their site or creating a new site especially, we're looking at the keyword research to help them figure out what topics are most important to target for SEO. And we use 4 criteria to help us do that. One is search volume, how many people are looking for this. 2 is competition, how hard is it going to be to show up in Google results for this. 3 is match, like how close is it to what you do? How good a match is it for the services or products that you're offering? And 4 is conversion value. So how likely is this keyword to get you the types of leads or clients or customers, people that you are looking for? So I'm going to look at 2 examples. The first one is our own example. We're going to look at our own website. So we are kind of midway through a refresh of our website, and we're updating the site because our company, JB Media, has really evolved over the last few years. So we realized that we needed to redo the site to reflect how our services and our clientele have changed and evolved. So I did some new keyword research to help us optimize the content, making sure we're using the right words that people are using when they look for our services, and also to revisit our content strategy and see if there are some new topics that we should be covering on the site and in the blog that we're not at this time.
Hold on 1 second, sorry. When I add people, I have to switch it back. So.
Okay. So here's a screen grab from our site. This is part of the nav menu. This is the What We Do nav menu. If you look on there, you see we do search engine optimization. That's me. Social media, that's Edwin. Public relations, digital advertising, and marketing strategy and consulting. So as I was working on this, doing the keyword research and rewriting a lot of the site, a question that comes up is, hey, what about content? Because we do a heck of a lot of content creation. Actually, 1/3 of our staff is dedicated to content creation. They're writers. They are producing content all the time. And that's not on our site. So why not? We kind of lumped it under SEO, but maybe content should be a topic on its own. So we looked into that. So here are just some quick screen grabs of the keyword research that I did. This is how I do keyword research. I lump related terms into little groups, and in this first column, this is search volumes. The second column is a keyword difficulties or a competition score for AdWords from 0 to 1. So these are pretty high. And then this is an estimated bid for what it would cost if you were to buy advertising. So just a quick look, what we can see is that content writing, yep, a lot of people are looking, almost 10,000 a month in the United States. Copywriting for the web, again, lots of people are looking, over 3,000 people a month. Website writing and blogging, again, tons of people are looking, almost 3,000 a month. Whoa, content marketing, so many terms, so much search, almost 20,000 searches a month for content marketing. So from the keyword research, we can be like, oh yeah, content marketing, content creation, this is a big deal. Also, people are looking for other things that we do. 3,000 are looking for content strategy. We definitely do that. Content curation is a thing that we do. That's another 2,000 people. So together, if you add this up, this is like 35,000 searches per month for content, various terms in content. So, all right, so the keyword research tells us that content is a big deal in terms of what people are searching for. So let's look at all the criteria, the 4 criteria. Does content writing and marketing meet our criteria for an important topic for our content strategy? So volume, clearly, right? We just saw the volume is huge. Match, yep, it's a big match for what we do. 1/3 of our staff does this all day long. So that leaves us with competition and conversion. So how do you figure out competition for keywords? There are a number of ways that you can look at competition. So one is the AdWords competition data. So if you're using the keyword planner to do your research, if you're using AdWords, it'll give you a score for how competitive it is for AdWords. Okay, that's great. Except that tells you how competitive it is for advertising. And if you are focused on organic search, then that's going to be a little bit different. Like there are some terms that are going to be extremely competitive for organic search that people don't advertise for. So they're not exactly the same. It's helpful, they might correlate, but they might not, depending on what it is you're selling or offering. So there are tools that you can pay for to use. There might be some free ones, I don't know. We use Ahrefs, it's great. Moz has a keyword difficulty tool, and there are others out there. But let's say you don't have these tools. Well, there's a really simple way that you can get a sense of the competition for your keywords, which is just to Google them and see what you find out. So you go to Google, and if like the top results are full of like these pages that you know are really strong, really big websites, then you can assume that like that's a really competitive keyword. And if you go to Google and you find that the results like don't look that great, or it's not really pulling up results for that particular search that are a really good match, then you can be like, oh hey, yeah, there's an opportunity here. So that is like a really accessible way to do competition assessments. So the pros are that it's free, anyone can do it. The cons are that it's time consuming and it's guesswork. If you're going to do it, you want to limit how the personalized search results that you're getting. So there's Google help that can tell you how to turn off personalized search results, because otherwise what you're going to see is skewed by what Google thinks you're interested in. Why is this not working?
I'm sorry. I have to keep adding people to the call.
Okay.
People who are joining late, so then we got to click back onto the main screen.
Okay, no problem. So if we were to Google some keyword candidates, I took a look at this like on that content marketing topic. So I Googled SEO content writing, and what I find when I Google SEO content writing is it's not actually pulling up agencies and writers and people who do that. Instead, it's a lot of how to do content writing. So that's interesting for me to know. It's really helpful when you're working on content strategy to try out your keywords in Google and see what Google is showing. So what I see is that Google interprets that search as a search for educational information. All right, that's super interesting. If I want to offer educational information, then that could be a good keyword. But if I'm trying to bring people to the agency to hire us as writers, it might not be. So maybe I want to try something that's more agency-centered, so I try content marketing agency. So what I find when I pull that up is that there are some results that are kind of like overarching how to choose a content marketing agency, and there are some actual agencies. Now I have Ahrefs, this tool, that will show me right in the Google results the domain authority of the different sites. And what I can see for content marketing agency is that those domain authorities are really high. They're between 60 and 80 out of 100. So our domain authority at this time is a 45. So I'm like, okay, yep, content marketing agency is a really competitive search. That would be really ambitious for us. So what do we do if the competition looks really tough? So there are a couple ways to approach that. One is we can just be like, oh, good to know, right? That's a really competitive keyword, so that's probably not the right keyword for us. We're going to look at some other keyword topics. Or we're going to say, hey, organic search is not the strategy that's going to work for us, or organic search alone is not going to work for us, and we need to complement it with other strategies like social, like advertising. The other thing is, if we're like, we really want to be bringing in organic search for this traffic, then we look for how to start. We look for those niche topics where we can compete. So let's say we're like, content marketing is super important for us, but we can see that it is too competitive for us to do. So then we start looking for niche topics like B2B content marketing or content marketing for tourism, and then we probably go back to the keyword research to look for those more detailed topics and find one that's right for us, where we can start bringing in the search that we're looking for. And the better you do it, just builds. You just get more authority and you're able to start ranking for more and more ambitious keywords. Okay, but why bother? Why should we do that work? Is it worth it to us? So that's the conversion factor. The question, are these keywords going to bring in the types of website visitors we really want? So at JB Media, if you can see me on the camera right now, our mission is actually right behind me. So our mission is to work with social enterprises and mission-driven companies and nonprofits. And so that's a very specific type of client, not just like all clients. So the question, would searches for content marketing bring in the types of leads we want? Well, actually, in most cases, no. Like, even if we succeed and we rank in Google for those searches and we get people to our site, they're not going to bring in the types of clients we're looking for. So that is some thoughts on conversion. So how do we size this all up? Content writing and marketing, yes or no? Is this a good topic for us? And what we decided as we're working on our own site is that it is, but not for the not from an SEO point of view as much as a user experience. So there's more than one thing that you can learn from keyword research. And what we learned is that there's a huge amount of interest in content. And so we know that the people coming to our site who are interested in digital marketing are going to want to know about content. So that's the main takeaway for me for that keyword research. It's also going to draw educational search that could convert for the institute and the trainings that we do, because we do education. The other thing is that it can mix and match with other qualifiers like where we are, the types of clients we're looking for. So it could bring in those kind of niche searches that will convert. So we're like, yes, this is an important topic. We're including it in our content strategy. So here's another idea. What about social enterprise marketing? Is this a good topic for us to target? Well, our first question is, that seems super niche. Is anybody searching for that? You go to keyword research, what do we find? All right, so we're not finding 35,000 searches a month for social impact or social enterprise marketing. It's 170. Like, this is all I can find. And like the individual searches, we're looking at 30 for social impact marketing, 20 for social enterprise marketing. So those are kind of small numbers, but people are searching. So does social enterprise marketing meet our criteria? Volume? You're seeing some volume. Competition? If you look back at the competition scores, they're pretty low. If I do the Ahrefs thing, I can see like other sites on the page. Some of them on the first page of Google have pretty high results, but others are in the same range that we are. So that is looking like, oh yeah, I think we can get in there. If like we focus on this, I think we can really start ranking for this. Match, super strong match for what we do. Conversion value is awesome. Like, people who are looking for social enterprise marketing, those are the clients we want. So conversion value, super strong. Match is super strong. Competition looks good. And the volume is good enough. So yeah, we want that. And so the thing to think about here is that there are like multiple factors that you think about when moving from keyword research to your content strategy, and they kind of play together. So in this case, we found that because the other three factors look so good, we're in fact really excited about targeting small volumes. You might also find that for keywords where the competition is super high, if everything else looks really good, then you are going to want to do the work that it takes to rank for more competitive keywords. So moving to a second example, we're working for a nonprofit organization that they have a really unique mission where they're helping industries adapt to climate change. So we did some keyword research for them. Keywords like climate change in agriculture, climate change in finance, tourism, the military, retail, healthcare, insurance. And then I use this really neat Ahrefs tool that gives me a score that is color-coded for keyword difficulty. And it shows that to me right next to the volume. So I can use this tool to see competition and volume. And this client is so unique and their offerings are so niche that there's not a ton of competition out there for them. This like color coding goes from green to red. I don't actually see any red, just yellow and green. So what I'm seeing is that some of these are more competitive than others, but any of them may be achievable. So I go back to the client and ask them, I'm like, well, I think, you could really start ranking for any of these. Some will be harder than others. And then we move from data to this more subjective discussion. Like, what's more important to you? What feels like a good match to you? Which of these types of visitors are the ones you really want to bring to your site? Which ones are your target audiences? And then we use all of that information, all the data, plus like their input on who they want to bring because they're a perfect match, to create a new website plan for them, an architecture plan for their new site. So I'll zoom in on the part that we were just looking at. So these are the kind of, this is how we're building their content strategy into their site, the industries that we're recommending they focus on. In white is like a softer recommendation, like you might think about that. So that is how, like all of those considerations would factor in to creating a content strategy for a new site. Are there any questions on that so far?
Not so far, but I want to go ahead and encourage everybody to chat in any questions that they have about content strategy or how to use their keyword topics to actually develop their content strategy. So please feel free, whether you're on Facebook or on Join Me, to type in any comments or questions about what's being shared here. But you can probably continue, and I'll just let you know if anything comes across the wire.
Okay, so just switching gears a bit. So that was using the keyword research to think about how you would add content, how you would decide new topics that you really want to start building authority and bringing traffic for. But when do you say goodbye to old content? Well, as an SEO, I have a bias towards keeping content, like never saying goodbye to content, because in general, having a large amount of content on the core topics that are important to you helps build the authority of your site. So just like having a bunch of material on that content is important. So in general, we advise clients to try to archive old posts or articles instead of deleting them. And yes, SEOs are hoarders. We have like a tendency, we're like cat ladies, like there's people that have like basements full of things that they think they might need later. But some content clearly does expire. For example, events that have passed, job listings that are no longer current, products you no longer sell. Stuff gets old and it's got to go. So what do you do? How do you decide when to say goodbye to your content? So one consideration is like some content is more valuable than others, and you can figure out what content is more valuable to you. So pages that have earned links from other sites, pages that are drawing traffic to your site, you can see which pages are working for you or doing the most for your site, and you really don't want to throw those pages away. They are bringing traffic in, they're building your site authority, so don't get rid of them. So those super high value pages that you can see have a lot of links and are drawing a lot of traffic. When they get old, consider updating them so the content is fresh and they can go on doing what they do. If it's a page that really needs to go, but it has links or it's bringing traffic, use a 301 redirect instead of letting those pages 404. So 404 is that nasty error message that makes everybody make a frowny face, like nobody likes to click on something in Google and you get that page not found. This doesn't exist anymore. So instead, if you use a 301 redirect, then instead of getting that error message, people are going to go to a different page that is relevant. to what they need.
All right, so we've got a couple things I want to address. First is Jonathan's question. So is the map that you showed, is that what you guys do at JB Media when you're reworking a site? He likes that visual representation. So this, I just want to clarify, is definitely part of what JB Media works on.
Yeah.
It's what Rose does as part of her job in really helping clients figure out how to re-architect their site from a content perspective. So having this kind of map of all the different pages and all the different topics and understanding what's showing up for different keywords, really helps you figure out, which pages are the most popular. All of that helps you figure out what should stay, what you should maybe remove, what things maybe need to be built out more. So that's definitely something that is what the team works on overall from a strategic perspective.
Yeah, and I love this particular a way of showing how a website should be laid out. This is a program called MindMap. You can access it through Google Drive. It's completely free. So yeah, it's awesome. And this is really one of my favorite parts of working on SEO. Like when you move from all of that data and actually put that data kind of into action, like figuring out how that should fit together on a new website.
And Jonathan's asking another question. Just to clarify, basically, usually how we're utilizing this map, Jonathan, is essentially that center point that you see is kind of like the home page. And then from there, you're branching off into each different section of the website, and then from there into each individual page. And so what we're looking at when we look at this is really the flow of the content. And how does, somebody move through the website? How are things interconnected? And we want to make sure that all of that is not only on point with just the content strategy and our goals, but it also has a user flow that the person on the site can follow and understand and make sense. So yeah, the visual representation really helps us see, again, where do we have calls to action? Where do we have different subjects laid out? How can we make sure that the internal linking between the pages and the call to action buttons are really clear and move people through the content in a natural way? So again, if you have any other questions, feel free to chat them in. I know we have somebody on Facebook Live, John, who was asking about URLs. And so I do want to just throw out there that when it comes to your actual domain name, your domain name is important. If you can purchase a domain name at the beginning of your business that is a keyword domain, there may be some potential there. And there's, some strategy there. Although I think Justin and I both have talked about this with students in the past, it's not as important as it used to be to have a keyword domain. So really what you want is a domain name that you plan on keeping for a long time. So the longer you own your domain name, the longer that your website is on that domain, the more domain authority you're going to build. And that's why once you have an existing website, you don't want to change the domain name if you don't have to. You really want to keep it consistent because that domain and all the pages associated with it are building authority over time. And if you change that URL, then essentially you kind of hit a reset button, right? And you kind of potentially lose some of your authority on the search engines, and you can lose some of your rankings because of that. So it is really important, I think, to not really choose a keyword domain, but to have a domain that you think is going to last over the long term and to not make changes to the domain name unless you absolutely have to. And one of the things that Rose had at the end of her presentation is a commentary on 301 redirects. And we're coming down to the wire here, but I do want to just pop this up and mention that if you are going to change your domain name, redesign your website so that it has different URLs, any of that stuff, I think it's incredibly important that you work with a designer that can do the 301 redirects, because this is what will allow you to transfer any of the authority from your old domain and your own pages to the new domain and the new pages. And it's not exactly perfect. So typically we will see a drop when you make a big change like this and you do a lot of redirects. So you may still lose some rankings. You may see a dip for anywhere from 1 to 3 months in the rankings, but typically they will come back over time. And sometimes if you worked really hard on building a better site or reorganizing it, it'll come back stronger at the end of that.
Great. And then just one other thing to think about with 301 redirects is that you don't want to direct people from the page they were looking for to just any page on their site. Like, you want it to be a page that is really as close as possible going to give them what they're looking for. Because if they don't get that, if they like click on something and they're like, I want to get this, and they wind up on your site and it's something else, then they're just going to bounce and go away. So that actually hurts your engagement metrics and you lose that site visitor. So you really want to think about getting them to a page that is going to provide what they're looking for.
Great.
So that's all I've got. If you have more questions, I think we're just about out of time, but we have a few
minutes. I was going to say, we've got 1 minute, and I did have a question that came up right before you started, Rose, that I want to throw up here. And the question, Edwin's not in the room right now, but the question was, do you recommend using past client emails for sales purposes? For instance, I'm a photographer. Should I use, say, past wedding clients' emails for other offers like baby pictures or birthdays? Or would this be considered a violation in the eyes of the client? And so I wanted to go ahead and answer this, that with client emails, I think we all want to be careful and err on the side of respect to make sure that we're not spamming people with information they don't want. However, if you have let's say a CRM or even just a spreadsheet with client emails in it, you can potentially upload that to something like Facebook and use it to create a lookalike audience or use it to connect with those people on Facebook. So I do think that, when it comes to the remarketing, the advertising, using your customer emails in that way is perfectly acceptable, unless when they gave you the email, you made a promise that you would not be using the emails for any purpose. So some people, when they take an email from a client, they say, we will never use this for any marketing. And if you did say that, then you need to honor that promise. However, I think if you just have the emails in a list, you can use them in remarketing, and in most ways they're going to be seeing advertising, so you're not necessarily spamming them. Where you want to be careful is necessarily adding an email to an e-newsletter without somebody's permission. So I don't recommend taking your client emails and just dumping them into your MailChimp, let's say, because you really want to have an opt-in. So it's better to send them an email and say, opt in to our newsletter. If they want to, they make a choice to sign up, and then they become part of your newsletter system. So it all depends on what promises you've made in the past and how you're planning to use the emails. But we are right at 1 o'clock, so I appreciate everyone for being here today and joining us. Please feel free to reach out to Edwin or to myself or Rose with any other questions, and we hope you'll consider joining us next month for our free webinar at the first Wednesday of June at 12:10. So thank you all for being here, and have a great day. And thanks everybody for being here on Facebook. If you have any feedback about the live stream, please feel free to let me know. And if you'd like a copy of the presentations, please feel free to just private message me on Facebook, and I'm glad to send you a copy. Thanks so much.